Hello, this is Pastor Manning, bringing you the Beacon of Hope podcast. I want to give you a quick thought out of the book of Job. Interesting title I would put on this thought is entitled, So Good, He Scares You. And that's God there. So good, He scares you. Let me read to you the verse from Job chapter 13 and verse 11. Shall not His excellency make you afraid, and His dread fall upon you? The excellency of God could make us afraid. Why? Because we see our own condition. We saw that was true with the prophet Isaiah when he saw the Lord high and lifted up. He understood that he was a man of unclean lips and dwelt in the midst of an unclean people. And he fell as if he were dead at that time. John on the Isle of Patmos, when he saw the glory of the Lord, he fell and had no strength. And this was often the response when people saw him. He is so good that he scares you. I want to read to you another passage. Let me turn over here to it in the book of John. It makes a statement here in John chapter 3 and verse 20. This statement is written, for everyone that doeth evil hateth the light, neither cometh to the light, lest his deeds should be reproved. In other words, they don't want to be around truth. They don't want to be around goodness, because then it will reveal how evil they are. And often places of iniquity, whether they be bars, nightclubs, these sort of places, these places of iniquity, these places of sin are often very dark, very dimly lit, and that sort of thing. They don't want brightness. They don't want something that's light. Why? They don't want light. That's why it's called a nightlife. That's why they like to go out in the nighttime, because they don't want their deeds being manifest, shown, or reproved. It's with that. Now we understand that, and God is so great that His excellency is so far beyond us that it could be scary. But let me say to you, even on another level, I've noticed there are some people who do not get around those who could help them or challenge them or cause them to grow, because they don't want to seem less compared to that person. In other words, their insecurity does not allow them to get near someone who may be better than them in a particular area, may be more advanced than they are in a particular area, and they won't get around them because they say it'll just make me feel worse about myself. And because of that, they miss the true opportunities, the real opportunities that are there to actually grow. I've known pastors who would not invite in men to preach that in their minds were more successful, in their minds had ministries that the pastor in question perhaps didn't think he could equal or was out of his reach. And because of that, they would not invite someone in who could have been a help to them, who could have helped them grow, who could have showed them some things, and just whose company would sharpen and make them better. You know, God, of course, is so magnificent, so pure. He had to robe Himself in flesh to really be communicated to man. But when we deal with other people, here's my question. Are you willing to get around those who make you uncomfortable? Those who are willing to point out a flaw? Those who are willing by their example and their company to show you a weakness? Are you willing to get around them, even though it'll make you uncomfortable? How you answer that will in a large part determine whether or not you can keep growing, because you're going to have to get around someone who scares you, someone who you feel nervous around, if you are ever going to go forward. You know, sometimes people are content to wallow in mediocre churches that never see anybody saved, churches that never have any expectation of growth, churches that will not put any pressure on them, where nothing's expected of them, where they're not asked to serve, where they're not asked to work, they're not asked to labor. There's no pressure put on them. And they want to just go somewhere where they can just wallow along in mediocrity. Why? Because they would rather do that than be made uncomfortable and be made better. Let me tell you, One of these days, Christ is going to ask us what we have done with what he's committed to our hands. And I would rather be uncomfortable now and keep growing in grace than have to be uncomfortable then. I would rather be uncomfortable now and grow so that one day I can hear, "Well done, thou good and faithful servant." I heard it said, and it was this true statement, if we expect to hear "well done," then we need to do well. And I think that's a great, great statement. It's an absolute amazing thing that God himself would put people in our path who would grow us if we would allow them to. Tom Landry was the coach of the Dallas Cowboys for years and years and years. And for much of his coaching career, had a very successful coaching career. Here's what he said about being a head coach. He said a head coach is someone who makes people do what they do not want to do so that they can achieve what they want to achieve. A head coach is someone who makes people do what they do not want to do so that they can achieve what they want to achieve. Think on these things, and I'll challenge you. Get around somebody who's so good that they scare you.